What if the most important moment of your life is happening right now and you don't even see it? While many are waiting for chaos, trumpets, and end-time headlines, something far more serious is already unfolding in silence. The spiritual seal is being given, not in the future, not in the Great Tribulation, right now. And the shocking part? It's not what you think. This isn't about a chip, a barcode, or some visible mark on the forehead. The real seal isn't physical, it's spiritual. It's a divine marking, invisible to men, but crystal clear in heaven. And it's not being handed out at the last second. It's being distributed in this exact season, quietly, strategically, selectively. While the world is distracted, heaven is separating those who truly belong. And many who think they're included are about to be exposed. Here's the problem: almost no one is talking about it. Why? Because this seal doesn't just test your theology, it tests your surrender. It confronts the lukewarm. It calls out the fake. It's not about emotion or appearances. It's about whether your soul carries the evidence of divine ownership. And if it doesn't, no matter how spiritual you look, you won't be taken when the time comes. So before you scroll past this message, ask yourself, have I truly been sealed? Because if the spiritual seal is being given now, and it's not what you think, you can't afford to find out too late. It's terrifying to realize that something is being handed out in the spiritual realm, and most people have no idea. The spiritual seal mentioned in Revelation 7 and 14 isn't some mystical symbol or celestial tattoo. It's a hidden identification, visible only in the spiritual realm, but carrying eternal consequences. Those who receive it bear the name of the Lamb, a mark of true belonging, not just belief. It's as if heaven is stamping those who genuinely belong to the kingdom, quietly, without public display. Many think this seal is for the distant future, something for the end times. But Ephesians 1:13 shows us it's already being given to those who believe, not just in words, but in life. It's not automatic. Raising your hand in an emotional church service doesn't guarantee anything. This seal is a silent approval from above, a kind of spiritual recognition that doesn't depend on earthly labels. It's the Spirit who testifies, not applause or popularity. Imagine an invisible mark that determines who enters refuge when the storm hits. That's what we're talking about, and this mark isn't earned through fancy words or perfect theology. It comes through secret obedience, true surrender, and a faith that translates into action. A person can know the Bible cover to cover and still not carry the seal. What separates them is what they live when no one's watching. The problem is, most are still waiting for the trumpet before they move, but heaven is already acting. The seal is being distributed right now, not with lights or cosmic signs, but in the spirits of those who've chosen to die to themselves and live fully for God. Which brings us to a much more uncomfortable question, because not everyone is being sealed, and the majority has no idea. Some believe that being loud for God is the same as being sealed by Him, but heaven sees deeper. The ones receiving the spiritual seal are not necessarily the preachers, influencers, or platform holders. They're often the ones who live quietly, behind the scenes, with clean hands and a surrendered heart. Obedient in the little things, faithful in silence, they walk in purity when no one's watching. It's not about being seen by people, but about being known by heaven. The lukewarm believer, the one who thinks they're fine just because they're not bad, is actually in the most dangerous position. Revelation 3 makes it clear: they will be spat out. These are the ones who attend church, say all the right things, but live divided. Their faith hasn't cost them anything, and their hearts remain unbroken before God. No seal is given to those who live in spiritual neutrality. The sealing is for those who live surrendered, not just those who believe with their mouth. It requires invisible transformation, a kind of inner renovation only God can recognize. You can't fake this kind of change. It shows in your reactions, your relationships, your private choices. Think of it like spiritual DNA. Only those who've been reborn by the Spirit carry it. This is why many will be shocked in the final day. They thought they were in, simply because they believed or were active in ministry. But God is sealing hearts, not just hands. And right now, a quiet division is happening, which leads us to a sobering realization. The seal is not just about who claims to follow Jesus, it's about who truly belongs. Most people expect some loud, apocalyptic event to mark who belongs to God and who doesn't. But the truth is far quieter and far more personal. The sealing is already happening, and it's separating people not by force, but by fire. Those being sealed are going through things that can't be explained naturally. Sudden isolation, deep inner convictions, and an urge to leave what once felt safe. It's like heaven is drawing a quiet line, and few even notice. The sealed ones are starting to feel out of place in this world. Their friendships are shifting, their habits are changing. They're losing the desire for things they once loved and being misunderstood for it. Some are even being rejected or labeled as too radical by other Christians. But this is the beginning of the separation, and it's divine. It's a spiritual marking that begins before the judgment. Like in Exodus, when the blood on the doorposts marked God's people. No one else could see it, but the destroyer did. That same principle is unfolding now. The seal isn't flashy. It's spiritual discernment, painful refinement, and unseen obedience. And those being marked are starting to feel the cost. This is why you may feel distant from people you used to connect with. It's not just life changes, it's a spiritual divide. Heaven is preparing a people, not by popularity, but by purification. And the ones being sealed are already being called out. But what if you're not being separated at all? What if you're still blending in? One of the most dangerous spiritual assumptions is this: I'm good. I'm already in. But Jesus warned about this in Luke 13, where people will say, "Didn't we eat with you? Didn't we serve you?" And still hear the terrifying words, "I never knew you." The tragedy is that they truly believed they belonged. They had the right language, the right community, maybe even the right theology. But what they lacked was the true seal, the invisible mark of divine ownership. Many confuse conversion with sealing, but they are not the same. The seal requires more than association. It requires total surrender. This illusion is strengthened by culture. We've built churches around emotions, group identity, and busy schedules. We tell ourselves, "I'm involved, so I must be fine." But activity doesn't equal intimacy. Serving in ministry, quoting scripture, or crying during worship doesn't guarantee anything. The seal is about who you are when no one's clapping. It's what happens when the lights are off and the only audience is heaven. That's where the real test is. And that's where many fail without realizing. People trust in groups, denominations, even personalities, as if being close to the fire means they're burning too. But spiritual nearness isn't spiritual sealing. You can be surrounded by anointed people and still miss your personal moment with God. Just like Judas walked with Jesus and still wasn't sealed, many today are walking next to truth, but never letting it change them. The mistake is thinking that knowledge equals transformation. But knowledge without surrender becomes deception. This is the moment to ask, are you living for yourself or for the Lamb? Because if your life still revolves around your plans, comfort, and preferences, you haven't been sealed. And being in church, posting verses, or having a Christian lifestyle isn't enough. The seal is only given to those who lay everything down, not just sins, but self. And that uncomfortable truth is exactly why almost no one is talking about this. Which brings us to the next point. This message is too quiet for the loud world we live in. While many are obsessed with signs, dates, and end times conspiracies, the spiritual seal slips by unnoticed. It doesn't trend on social media, it doesn't sell books, and it doesn't make people feel good. That's why it's ignored, even in churches. We've replaced deep conviction with surface-level inspiration. People are chasing the next prophetic headline while missing the quiet whisper of the Spirit. Heaven is separating, but people are too distracted to see it. The truth? Talking about the seal makes people uncomfortable. It exposes the heart. It reveals who has truly surrendered and who's just playing along. That's why many pastors and leaders avoid the topic, because the seal doesn't care about your title, your platform, or your Instagram bio. It cares about the state of your soul. And let's be honest, it's easier to preach about wars and antichrists than about obedience, purity, and silence before God. This message doesn't entertain, it confronts. What makes it even harder is that the seal isn't flashy. It doesn't manifest in emotional outbursts or dramatic signs. It shows up in holiness, in decisions that cost you, in a hunger for God that no one understands. It demands self-denial in a world built on self-promotion. That's why even the spiritually curious avoid this topic. It feels too costly. But if you ignore the seal, you risk missing the very thing heaven is using to identify its own in this hour. And that's a cost no one can afford. The seal is quiet, but it exposes everything. And if we're honest, many fear that exposure. They'd rather keep the image of spirituality than ask, have I truly been marked? But this isn't about fear, it's about urgency. Because if the seal is real, and it is, then it's not just a theory. It's the preparation for something greater, something final. And it's already happening, leading us to the reason it matters so deeply for what comes next. People imagine the rapture as this sudden, chaotic moment, a divine surprise that sweeps everyone off their feet. But for the sealed ones, it won't be a surprise at all. Why? Because the preparation has already begun. They've been separated slowly, drawn out of systems, and shaped in silence. The seal is the spiritual confirmation before the trumpet ever sounds. Those who are sealed are already walking in another rhythm, alert, obedient, and inwardly aligned with heaven. The rapture won't start their journey, it'll complete it. The truth is hard, but it's necessary. Without the seal, there is no entry. The trumpet is not the moment to prepare, it's the moment of transition. And transitions don't wait for those still deciding. The seal marks those who've already said yes in secret, yes in suffering, yes in surrender. These are the wise virgins from Matthew 25, the ones who kept their oil burning even when nothing seemed urgent. And when the bridegroom arrived, they were ready, not because they predicted the hour, but because they lived prepared. God always gives a warning before a closing. Noah's Ark had a door. Egypt had blood on doorposts. And in every case, those who were marked were the ones preserved. The seal is heaven's way of saying, this one is mine. And the question isn't whether God will act, It's whether we're already aligned when He does. That's what makes this moment so critical. Because the seal is not a last-minute stamp. It's the evidence of a life already surrendered. And without it, no one enters. So, if you're waiting for the trumpet, but haven't been sealed, you might be left watching. Watching others rise. Watching others go. Watching the moment you thought you'd be part of pass you by. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you. The seal is mercy. It's a chance to prepare in advance, and the time to receive it is now. This isn't about goosebumps, emotional worship, or powerful sermons. It's about whether or not heaven recognizes you as one of its own. The spiritual seal is being given, not in the chaos of the final hour, but in the quiet decisions you're making right now. When no one's watching, when there's no stage, when it's just you and God. And if you think that's too simple to be serious, remember, eternity has never needed applause to move. It's easy to feel safe inside a church building. Easy to believe you're ready just because you pray sometimes or post a Bible verse once a week. But the seal isn't about occasional faith. It's about consistent surrender. It's not about being perfect, but about being truly His.